My name is Fahd Burki and I'm from Lahore in Pakistan. I did my BA, Bachelor's in Fine Arts, from the National College of Arts, Lahore. It's one of the oldest colleges in Lahore, and for the longest time it was the only art college in Pakistan, in the entire country. So I joined the National College of Arts with the intention of doing either architecture or industrial design, and after 2 years of doing that, I realized that was something that I wasn't interested in. I was far more interested in painting, because there was a lot more freedom in expressing myself in painting. So then I switched over to painting and I majored in painting, graduated in painting. After graduating from the National College of Arts, I spent 5 years just working in a small studio in Lahore on my own. After which I had my first significant solo show in Lahore in 2007. And I applied to London, to the Royal Academy of Arts, and they offered me a scholarship. So I moved to London for 4 years, and I pursued my master's there. So I finished my education at the Royal Academy of Arts in 2010, and since then I've just been making art. I never deliberately have not deliberately ever tried to, or intentionally used ethnic or local symbols in my work. But obviously living in that culture, there's a lot of things that an artist absorbs without knowing, unconsciously. And I'm sure if I can't notice it, a lot of people who look at my work do come up to me and they can see those cultural differences in my work. It's not that I intentionally put them in the work. Architecture has inspired me, always has. A lot of modernist architecture especially, and a lot of buildings with spiritual significance, such as tombs and temples and places of worship in particular. These monuments are something that I'm really interested in, because they are just not, their function is not just as simple as, for instance, a house or an office building. When we talk about a cathedral or a church or a mosque, we're talking about a building that is supposed to affect an individual at a spiritual level. So that is something that really interests me in this architecture. I think I am slowly moving towards greater abstraction, but it's a very, very gradual change. I don't know how long it'll take. It's not something that I can immediately do unless it actually starts making sense to me as to why I'm using it and I can justify it in my work. So I never usually know where the work is going. I mean, it's not spontaneous. I usually plan a lot before I make everything, because the lines are very sharp, the forms are separate, and it's really so everything's like pre-planned thoroughly. And I also tend to reduce my ideas. When I make something, there's a lot that's initially going in there, and then slowly I keep removing elements until the most essential the most essential elements are left, just enough to convey what I'm trying to say in the work. So it usually works like that. And with this, I was trying to express a kind of tomb-like structure. So it works, it oscillates between being a human figure and remains of an architecture. It could be read as the remains of a reclining human figure, or at a certain level it can be thought of as remains of an old building. The titles in my work are always decided after after I finish the work. My practice in general is not very academic, so the work is never based on theories. It's more like intuition and my imagination. So I always start working very freely. Whatever it is I want to make, I reduce it, I design it, I see how it's working, and then eventually I try to figure out a title for it. Very rarely do I come up with a title first and make the work later. The title is always like a little clue, and often it's very, very direct. For instance, that work right there, it's called Seeking Eden, which means seeking heaven. Eden is like utopia. It's like a place that only exists in our imagination, like an ideal place. So you've got these grey walls that make a perspective. It's going in and then it rises up towards the sky. So the titles are often very direct and very simple. And it's just a little clue for people to help them enter the work more easily. I always want the work to be not easily classifiable, not easily categorized. I don't want it to be reflecting the past or the future. I mix the elements in a way that it kind of becomes both, and you can't actually pinpoint where it's from. So it's like something between primitivism and, say, for instance, science fiction. When I talk about a universal language, I'm not just talking about geographical boundaries like countries. By universal language, I mean something that can be understood without education. I don't want the work to be very academic, I'm not conceptual at all in my practice. So when people look at my work, I prefer to have them directly look at work rather than read a lot of text to figure out where this work is coming from, because that's how I work. So in my opinion, it's a kind of rather simple approach towards making